Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Oh, hey, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Just checking the sound audio. I wasn't seeing the meters jumping, but let me know in the comments if you can see and hear me and everything looks good, and we'll get started with the photo editing. I got 10 images in today, and as always, I'll be using DxO Photolab 7. I may try some other photo editing software. Lightroom is always there, of course. But I also have access to like Luminar Neo and the new On One, I think it's called. I'll try and get that in as well. So if you guys are interested in me editing using those other two softwares instead of doing DxO Photolab all the time, I'll be happy to give those a shot as well. It's a little bit of a learning curve there, but I should be able to get up to speed pretty quickly. And ultimately, the methodology or uh, process that I use is pretty much the same, regardless of photo editor that I would use. Uh, and all that. Let's see. I'll wait for the comments over here to show that the you guys let me know if the audio and video looks good, and we'll get moving. Also, there's only I think 5 days left on the DxO 20% off sale, where they're giving 20% off all of their products, not the not upgrades, but just new products if you're buying it for the first time. So if you already have a photo editor that you like, excuse me, Pure Raw 4 is a very good denoising and optical correction software that you can supplement any of your other photo editing software with. And it has the latest denoising algorithm in it. Photolab 7 right now still has the one from last year. And there is an improvement in DxO Pure Raw 4 over the current Photolab 7. So that's always good. And there's some workflow improvements as well. And I'll do a video on Pure Raw 4 hopefully this month. And Photolab is my preferred editor of choice. That's why I've been using it every week. But I appreciate people who like to use other editors time to time, and I'll try and incorporate that more in my streams using different photo editing software, just so you guys, if you don't use it now, you get a feel for what it might be like if you're considering all your options outside of, say, the Lightroom and Photoshop route. That's it. I don't really find anything wrong with Adobe Photoshop or Lightroom. Uh, the the uh, Having a senior moment. But the denoising algorithm is not as strong as it is in Photolab 7 and certainly not Pure Raw 4. So Pure Raw 4 is an excellent supplement to, like I said, Lightroom or any photo editor. And if you already have Photolab 7 Elite or Pure Raw 4 and you want to get a photo editor, I'm sorry, you want to supplement Photolab 7, I think Nik Collection is the next logical choice. Don't buy Pure Raw 4 to supplement Photolab 7. That would be a mistake because Photolab 7, I'm sure, come this October, will be upgraded with the latest denoising algorithm. And of course, the best discounts are always when they release a new version, which is usually October, November timeframe. So you get the Black Friday deals. And that is the best time to buy DxO Photolab. But if you don't want to wait 4 or 5 months, 20% off right now is the best deal you're going to get probably until then. So now's a good time to get started. And I guess let me put my and thank you, Robert, for letting me know the audio and video is okay, and I'll start up. But let me just put in my shameless plug here in the comments. If you guys want to download and try Photolab or any of the DxO products, I did it again, not DOX. Ignore that. Trek.com/DxO. A little dyslexia there. That's the correct link. Rodtrek.com/DxO. That'll take you to the DxO website where you can download free trials or get the 20% off, and I'll get credit for that. Hopefully, the cookies and everything's stick. They don't always stick because I guarantee I'm getting a lot more sales than I'm actually getting credit for, which that's just the nature of the beast, right? Okay, so I got about 10 images in today, and I see Robert and Andrew, two Roberts here today. John Allen, ex-Meta, good to see you. Garrett, good to see you. And let me let me see if I can switch screens. Where's the button? Here we go. All right, that's my live screen, live view, live stream screen. But this is the screen you want to see. So actually, Garrett, you're first, as a matter of fact, here. And wow, we have this beautiful picture of an eagle here. Um, Not a lot to do here. Maybe just adjust the lighting a little bit. And yeah, that's about it. A slight crop pop probably. So, and also I've already applied the optical correction and denoising to all of the images. I just did a bulk update, but no other editing's really been done to this. So let me go over first to let's just do a slight crop and just try to equalize some of the spacing around the eagle. Meaning, equal space on top and the bottom, and then a little bit of space on the right to give the image some breathing room. And let me work on the eyes. Well, I think I love the color the way it is, but I'm just gonna do a quick white balance check, uh, just to see how much difference there is. But it looks like it's pretty much already spot on. So that's good. So we'll just leave it as the original as shot. Turn that off. And I'm gonna just I'm debating if I should push the exposure a little bit just on the eagle. I think I'll do that. Let me pull the exposure down. Maybe almost a stop, not quite. And then I'll start doing local adjustments from here. I just want to dim the background and the surrounding area a little bit. And then from here, we'll do local adjustments. And with whenever it comes to eagles and birds or, any kind of wildlife, people, anything with eyes, I like to brighten the eyes. So I usually just push the shadow a little and then do a ton of clear view just to make it a little bit glassy looking. If that doesn't quite do it, I might add some micro contrast. And yeah, right in here, this whole region here, that looks good. And actually, maybe I'll do some on the beak too. And I do this a lot too. The same settings I use for the eyes, I use for the beak on the bird. They usually work pretty well. Maybe the talons as well, just so everything is kind of in sync. Because I like the beak to have a little bit of shine or crispiness to it, as well as the eyes. And I may have to come back to this and adjust it again because I am brightening up things in a way. So let's add a new control point. Uh, what should we do? I could try and mask the bird, but I'm going to try and do it just using the control points to make it look a little more natural. Sometimes when you select the bird using the auto masking feature, it looks a little bit like the bird was pasted into a scene. But if you use the control points, I think it gives a more natural transition from the bird to the background. And that's because of the luminosity and chroma masking that's available. So let me just start down in here because I don't want to clip the feathers too much. So we'll go down in here. So you can see that just the luminosity or chroma masking alone, these two sliders here are default at 50. Already mask out the bird pretty well on its own. So let's push a little bit more towards the top. And then I'm going to do a separate control points for the shadow areas because I don't want to brighten them up quite as much as I'm going to brighten up more of the top of the bird. So let's just do a simple push on the exposure like that. Okay, that's pretty good. Let me bring this in a bit. I'm getting a slight halo effect on the background, which is okay. Like I said, it makes it look a little more natural. Maybe a little bit more right in here. Okay, that's not bad. Now let me create a new control point for the shadow areas. And we'll bring these in a tiny bit. And in this case, I'm just going to do a push on the shadows. Maybe add a little bit of contrast. Bring the shadows back. The contrast seemed to have brought that up quite nicely. Okay, and the tail area is still a bit too dark for my taste. So let me use the shadow setting I had right in here, and we'll bring this in a tiny bit. Okay. And I need to bring this window over here. Okay, I see Phil sent a photograph in. I will I'll check it out after I finish the first 10. So you're gonna be last, unfortunately. All right, I think that's not bad. Maybe a little more push here. Okay. Now let me do a couple of tighter edits. Maybe around the bird itself in the grass. I'm gonna push the chroma masking a little bit like that. And we'll just brighten the midtones. That's not doing much. Maybe the highlights. Okay. Maybe a push on the shadow and the midtones. And I'm just going to give it a little bit extra. Let's try a little cooler, maybe. No, let's go a little bit warmer. We'll leave the white balance alone. Okay, let me just do a quick comparison. See where we're at. So that's the before and after. Okay, almost there. So I think what I'll do now is just bring the exposure back up a little bit. Right about there. And then one or two more local adjustments just up in here. Just bring this down a tiny bit. I don't like it. I think it's dark enough as it is. Let's do something down here, actually. Just raise the exposure. Okay, I'm going to call it there. So let's do a quick comparison before and after. And yeah, this was already very, very well exposed and composed. So all I really need to do is just adjust the lighting a little bit to give it a little more drama, but it didn't need much. So excellent picture, Garrett, in terms of exposure, composition. And yeah, nice. Not much to do. Okay, so this is an image that normally I could probably edit like in 1 or 2 minutes without trying to, sit there and explain everything. But okay, let's go to the next one. Thank you for sending that in, Garrett. Very nice image. So here we have a cathedral and some major perspective corrections. As an architectural guy, these perspective distortions always drive me nuts. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but just that's just the way my brain is. And this is a JPEG, so I'm not going to have a lot of flexibility, it looks like, um, with the image. So I think I'm leaning towards black and white because even though this is color, there's not a lot of color. There are nice hues of orange and blue or teal and orange. Okay, let's exaggerate those features if I can. If this was a raw image, I could probably do that a little better, but I'm gonna do just a quick perspective correction and see. Okay, that's a little bit too strong. Let's just back it off a little bit. We don't need that much correction. And I'm gonna check out how much it actually cropped. It just cropped this off in the top, and a little bit over shoulders. That's okay. Debating if we really need her in the shot even, but I guess it's okay. That's part of the story in the image. All right, I think white balance is good. White balance is always tough to do in scenes like this because you want to keep the natural color of the artificial lighting. But you can see the natural light coming in. I don't know if this is because the windows have a blue tint or if that's the actual natural light color. And these are just blown out, so you can't use this as a baseline for your white balance. But okay, so I'm gonna shift some of the colors in here if I can. And so this is yellow. Yeah, this is yellow green. It did look a little greenish to me, so I'm gonna shift these colors a little bit more to the red. Maybe not quite that much. Let me narrow the color wheel a bit there. So I really want it to be more orange than right in here. There. Now it matches a little closer to the lighting down here. And that's just that's just a creative choice. These blues, most of this is clipped, but I think, yeah, it's all clipped. There's a tiny bit of blue in here. I'm going to expand this a tiny bit, see if I can saturate those a bit more, bring them down. No, I don't, the luminance is about right. Okay, now let's go into some global adjustments. I'm going to add some clear view to make it a little crispier, more contrasty. I like that. Let's crank up the micro contrast. All right, good. And then just a couple local adjustments and I'll be done. Uh, just a little bit of a push on the shadows in this area. Let's tone these down a bit. All right, that's good. Push that and think we're good. Yeah, let me see what Clearview does. Yeah, that, and again, let me push the regular contrast and add some micro contrast. It's not doing much there. I'm going to push the micro contrast a bit. Okay, and I'm seeing some reds in here, which I want to bring in too. So I'm going to do that with the local adjustment. So it's a little bit of red there and there and there. And there's nice red here. Just balancing these reds because there's a pretty strong red over here. Hopefully that'll work. So I'll go down here. And just push that a little bit. Push a little more. And maybe brighten them a tiny bit. Yeah, that. Okay, I think that'll do it for that. And I'm going through these a little bit quicker today because I have so many. So let's do a quick comparison before and after. And so the main thing was the perspective correction. This is a little bit too wacky for me, right? Uh, so I did about a 50% on the perspective correction just to open it up a little bit more. And then a bunch of contrast and a slight shift on the tones up here to match the lighting down here. And then contrast and stuff to bring out the details. So I think that looks pretty good. We'll do a before and after. So there's before, and that's the after. I see a little bit of banding in here, or is that the actual structure? Okay. This, I don't think that's banding, but it is a little bit odd. I might have overdone it on the clear view. Let me, it's not clear view. Okay, I guess that's part of the structure. Yeah, it's kind of all over, so it's not banding. All right, let's go to the next one. And thank you, John Allen, for sending that in. All right, another JPEG. Let's see. Um, okay. So let me I'm seeing a slight perspective distortion again. I don't shoot children that often, so I don't have a good feel for how they should look. But let me just do a quick perspective correction and crop. There's a little bit too much room up here on the top for my taste. So I'm just going to even that out a bit and maybe pull in just below the knees or above the knees. And what if we do a slightly center it? Okay, I like that. And we're gonna definitely add a vignette. And I need to fix the colors. It's a little tougher with JPEGs, but let me try. Let's see. This metal, this kind of metal usually does have a blue tint in it, but let me try and set the white balance. Yeah. White balance is always tough with JPEGs, but that's a little better. But let me just do it manually. Just warm it up a tiny bit. Bring a little color back in. Maybe push the reds. No. All right. We're gonna have to stop there. You don't get hardly any wiggle room with the JPEG, but there we go. And then I'm gonna push the greens a bit. I think this is green. Let me just eyedropper this green in here. Yeah, that's green. Let's saturate those a bit more and pull those back. Make them a little bit darker. And then we'll do some local adjustments from here on the wood because I want to bring out a little bit of the grain in the wood. So we'll do a control point. This is going to take me a couple of tries really to get a feel for what might look best. But let me just do clarity and contrast. Pull the blacks in. I keep calling it clarity because it's so similar to the Lightroom clarity slider, but it's really, I guess I should use the right terminology, that it is the Clearview Plus. Okay. What if we soften it a little bit? That's okay. I'm gonna try their Portrait 3 color profile. No, let's try Portrait 1. Oh, I think, how about natural? No, I think Portrait 3 look best. That's good. And then we'll just warm it up a tiny bit more. And then I'm gonna add a vignette. And I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Meaning I'll just put a control point in the center and expand it out. And then we'll invert it. Turn the sliders here for the chroma and luma down to 0. Let's expand this out a bit more. And then just add a slight vignette. Okay. Okay, good. And then I forgot to do the eyes. Yeah, a new control point for the eyes. Whoops. Need to make it smaller. Nice. So he has nice, deep, rich brown eyes. Okay. Maybe a little more push. I don't want his eyes glowing, but I do want them out a little bit. So I'm gonna just back that off a bit. Okay, we're almost there. Let's just add a little bit of shine on this side. A bit more here. And let's do a new control point. And just add a little bit more light on this side. Ooh. The eyes are too bright now. Okay, good. And I think I'll call it there. So again, if I had a JPEG, it'd have been a little bit, I'm sorry, raw image. I guess one little thing we can do is just fix this blemish. Okay, good. All right, let's do a quick before and after. All right, so yeah, is mainly white balance and then separating the tones a little bit, bringing out the texture in the wood, um, and the color of the metal there. And then of course, just adding a slight brightness over here. So usually when people do portraits and they're using flash or LED lighting, they like to do a 2-to-1 ratio is very common. But since this is all natural light, I didn't want to exaggerate that too much, but just make a very, very subtle brightness on the right side here, just to give it a little more depth, I guess, or tone. I think that came out pretty good. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, I didn't do my comparison this way. So that's before. Let me zoom out. That's before. So just also, yeah, slider crop as well in the after. I think the image could actually be a little brighter overall. You can just do a slight push. If I'm looking at the histogram, to my eyes, your eyes get used to a certain brightness level. So sometimes it helps to look at the histogram and just see where you're at to make sure that you didn't sort of get numb a little bit. Yeah, there we go. About 2/3 of a stop. All right, let's do the before. So there's the before, there's the after, and there's a side by side. So yeah, always remember to check the histogram too, just to get a feel for the exposure because that's why people tell you to kind of, walk around or walk away from your image and then come back later and look at it, and then you'll say, "Oh yeah, that's a little bit too dark or it's too bright." Um, but a quick check at the histogram that'll sort of mitigate at least that variable of staring at a scene too long. All right, Robert Holly, let's see what we have. Um, and I see some questions in the chat. I'll come back to that. Hey, John, good to see you. I will come back to those. Let's see. All right, let me do a quick perspective correction. We may have to just fix this a little. Whoops. Just give it a little more push so that this line is straight down here. Okay, good. We got some good lighting. We have a raw image, so I'm going to be able to work with this a little more. Let me push the shadows just a tiny bit. And let's zoom in and see. It looks like, where's the focus point? It's on this building. Actually, the focus point is about here. And then it gets blurry from there. So I would have used a higher aperture. Because there's too much out of focus. Uh, all right, good. So I'm gonna just pull the exposure down just to find. I'm so sorry for this phlegm in my throat. Just see where the lighting is. So obviously we have the lamp post and we have a very bright sky. There's some good light hitting here on the left side. So I'm going to try and accentuate this kind of lighting. So we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and let me just bring this down a little bit overall. And then we'll brighten the areas back up with local adjustments. So let's pick this. Let's pull the mask, chroma masking in. Okay, good. Maybe a little bit less here and here. Okay. Push that, give it some clarity. It's a little bit more in here. I might need a new control point for these. And we'll give it a little extra warmth. Let's warm up these as well. Yeah, that looks good. Now this looks more like sun is coming in from the left side. And then I'll add a little warmth up here in the corner. Okay, good. Then, since I'm up here on the sky, we just go there. Oops. We need a new control point. And just so you know, I'm calling everything a control point, but technically they're different, right? Control points, control lines, linear, gradients, etc. Let's bring out the sky a little bit more. And I'm gonna push the luminosity mask just a bit so it doesn't affect the buildings quite as much. And then let's warm it up too. Okay, good. This needs to be a little bit stronger. What I'm gonna do, let's just warm this up a tiny bit, and then okay. Guess that's all right. Maybe a drop here. All right, let's work on the lights. And bring these in a little tighter. And these in a little bit tighter. Okay. Good. Bad. A little brighter. All right, good. And then we're going to spill that light coming from the street lights onto the ground on top of her head. I'm going to push the chroma masking in. Let's push the lumen masking in just a little bit more. Okay. And here, a little bit on top of this plant, and then right on top of the statue, right there. You're gonna have to work with the statue a little bit stronger. A little bit on top of the sign. And same thing over here. These people and plants. And here and here. Okay, let's just brighten those up a bit. And then we're going to warm them up quite a bit. Like that. Maybe I can back off the luminosity a little bit. Okay, we're almost there. This one needs to be, oops, this one needs to be tighter. Maybe a splash here. No. Okay. We can maybe push this over a little bit this way. Nope. It was fine where it was. This out a little bit. Okay, and then one last thing I'll do. Not one last thing. This one taking a little bit extra time. Let's just fix some of these little spotlights here. Let's brighten those up. And then a new control point. And just darken some of this area in here. Let's see if I can. No, nope, wrong one. Let me pick this one. Let me see if that. Yeah, that's too much. I need to make a new one for this. I just want a slight bump here. Here. Then this one, let me make these smaller. Just move these over a bit. Okay. Um, I'm just about done here. And let me just crop a little bit differently. Um, I never like little tiny gaps here, but I like the windows up here. I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it. What I'll do instead is, come on, let me just add a little bit of light in here. Okay. Um, just a quick comparison. I think that works. Okay. I'm going to just back off the white balance a little bit overall. Just cool it off. All right, I'm done. Yeah, sorry, I spent a little extra time on that one, but uh, here we go. Here's a before and after. So again, slight perspective correction. I could spend a little more time on that. That would make me feel a lot better, but I don't want to, you guys get the idea. And then just basically light painting using the control points, control lines, etc. And yeah, and then adding the light where it needs to be, with the artificial lighting. I might back these off a little bit. I did a little bit too much, but I think that looks better overall. So there's the before and there's the after. So there we go. Yeah, it bothers me. I hate to leave an image when it's just something, just something I can do very quickly. Let me go back and find the right control point. And by the way, you can name these control points instead of kind of drifting through them like I am. Let me, I think, yeah, this one. Just make these smaller. I shouldn't have expanded them. I had it right the first time. Something like that. All right, now I feel better. Okay, let's go to the next one. And we have, okay, this is a house cat. I've been watching all these videos online. Um, I've been watching these nature videos where animals attack or animals save people's lives or animals meet, their saviors from 10 years later and they remember each other. Anyway, uh, so I'm thinking bobcat or something, but this looks like a regular household cat. So first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and guys, remember I already did optical corrections and noise reduction in a preset, but I didn't do anything else just for the sake of time. But I'm definitely going to even this out a little bit, maybe give a little breathing room on the left side. Of course, the flower over here is more interesting, but that kind of distracts a little bit. So let's go this way. And um, again, let me take a guess on the white balance. Let's do shade. Oh, yeah, we need to do shade and then add a little bit of magenta because all this green foliage all around is just casting a green tint to the entire image. So you can kind of mitigate that a little bit with just the tint slider here. Okay. And then again, I want to find the lighting in this scene. So let me see. We got some good light coming in from the right side. especially on this eye. So I have to be careful with the eyes. I don't want one eye to be brighter than the other, so to speak. A little bit of lighting back here. And so, okay, I got a good feel there. So we'll just dial in a negative. We'll do -1 stop. And then let me see, maybe touch a clear view. Okay. So I'm going to, again, local adjust the um, eyes with control points. And I like to use the control points a little bit larger than the subject to help create that more natural transition, because you don't want things to look like cut and paste in. So push the shadows a tiny bit, maybe a tiny bit more, and then add the clear view to make them a little bit glassy. Micro contrast helps sometimes with making things look a little glassy. Okay, that looks good. So they're a little bit bright, uh, but I'm going to brighten the rest of the cat, so it should balance out. If not, it's easy enough. And let me just rename this. These are the eyes, just so you guys get a feel for uh, using DxO. But let's brighten the cat up, and I'm going to push the since the luminance is about the same everywhere. I'm just going to use the chroma mask instead to separate the cat a little more. And then let's just do a global exposure push like that. Maybe 2/3 of a stop. No, almost a full stop difference there. And let me go back to, we'll call this the body. I'm only going to do this once just for demo purposes. All right. This all looks good. Let me, all right. I need to desaturate the eyes a bit. So I'm going to do just a global desat. They're popping a little bit more, and then we'll push the vibrance. Okay. No, that's not working for me. There's kind of too much red in here. So let me pull the reds back a little bit. If there's something in the color, yeah, that's better. All right. Okay, so we're going to vignette and accentuate some of the lighting. Again, I'll just do a global vignette. So I'm going to put a control point in the center. Now, if you have Film Pack 7, uh, it has a vignetting feature built in. Inserted this feature here, create vignetting. This is part of Film Pack 7, so I could do that. That's a lot easier, but I'm going to show you, just if you don't have Film Pack 7, you just create a control point, reverse it, turn these sliders to 0, and then you can kind of pull that in, then just pull the exposure in. And you can do it that way, or sometimes I like to just pull the blacks in to do the vignetting. I think it looks better than doing, say, an exposure vignette, which darkens everything. I'd rather do it that way. And then the last thing I'll do is a control point for the rest of the lighting in the scene. So I'm just going to pull in, and I'm going to do a heavy chroma masking on that. I'm going to pull back the luminosity a little bit. So there's some light here, some light here. Let's pull that in a bit. There's definitely some light here and here and here. And we'll just push the exposure a tiny bit and then warm it up. And then on the body, let me get rid of this one. Okay, I think I'm done. Uh, let's do a quick comparison side by side. So there's the before and after. So this image on the left is a little bit flat and, and didn't focus on the subject quite as much. So I just cropped in to fill the frame a little more with the subject and then added some dynamic range and a little bit of white balance adjustments locally and globally. And then, of course, brought out the eyes a little bit more. Um, but I think that looks pretty good. So let's do a full screen sort of before and after. So there's the before and there's the after. Oh, and again, I got to look at the histogram because it looked a little dark. So I'm going to look at the histogram and just push this up a little bit. Um, there. All right, now let's do a before and after. Now this is a little bit closer to reds. And I like to look at the red part of the histogram because that's usually where skin tones and, brown animals and stuff. You want to look at the red. It's still a little bit dark. I'm going to push just a little bit more. Okay. All right, now let's do a before and after. So there's before and there's after. I think the scene could use just a little bit of extra sharpening. Oh, well, let me just zoom in a little bit. There we go. Before and after. And this is what's nice. Another thing nice about DxO is the optical corrections really make the images pin sharp almost no matter what lens you're using, lens and camera combo. But okay, very good. So that's 5. Let me just take a quick break here. And I'll be right back. I need to take a break, but just give me 1 minute. So I'll be right back. Sorry. Okay. Let me get to some of the chat questions, and then we'll go back to the editing. And where is the chat window? You got. Okay. Yeah, I turned the mic back on. Sorry, my doctor told me to drink like 3 liters of water a day, which is about 2.5 more than I used to. So I can't make it through a 2-hour stream anymore um, without taking a break. So sorry about that, but that's doctor's orders. Okay. Okay, here's my chat window. Let me go back and see. So Robert's here, Andrew Galloway, Robert Welsh, good to see you guys. John Allen, ex Meta, always good to see you. Garrett, and there's my affiliate link. So again, right now it's 20% off. It's only like 5 days left. I would take advantage of it. Otherwise, you're gonna probably have to wait till whatchamacallit, Black Friday for the next really, really good deal. Um, Andrew says, I just upgraded to NIC 7 from NIC 6, and the discount does not apply to upgrades. Yeah, Yeah, unfortunately. Um, but Nix 7 has a better algorithm, I think, or better tools than Nix 6 or DxO Photolab 6. I really like the improvements they made. You know, when they were talking about going from DxO Photolab 6 to Photolab 7, the upgrades seemed very, very subtle. But in practice, they made a really big difference in the workflow. You don't really feel it at first, but now that I'm working with Photolab 7 for the past year, I can really see a big difference in my workflow and how I edit the images. And like I said, very subtle differences, but it made a big deal. So I think even though on paper it didn't look like a big difference, because people always go for the kind of the headline features, better noise reduction, um, faster processing on your computer, better. So, it's not as sluggish as it used to be. All, kind of the headline features, but it's a lot of times I find the smaller improvements, the smaller upgrades or changes in workflow really make a bigger impact uh, in how you edit your images than these other things sometimes. Okay, as photo change as local adjustments in PL5, the sliders are not on the image. Yes, they did change. Um, so Roberto, what I would do is for you, if you're currently on Photolab 5, I would wait till Black Friday and get Photolab 8. I think it's worth the wait because Photolab 5 still is an excellent photo editor. And certainly the upgrades from 6 to 7 are pretty significant. But we're just what, 4 or 5 months away from Photolab 8. I'm guessing, okay. If history repeats itself, Photolab 8 will be out in October, November. Uh, I don't have any insider information on that, but I'm just telling you from my experience, October, November, that's the time frame to really look for Black Friday deals. They also usually do deals on upgrades. So you can get a discount on your upgrade in November, December, in October, November time frame. But yeah, the sliders are now in the control panel on the right side. And Zoltan is here. Good to see you, Zoltan. And John Follows, good to see you. I think I just did one of your images. And the perspective tool is worth the price. Yeah, Photolab. Yeah, that's true. This perspective tool is much improved from, I think, from 5 to 6, and then 6 to 7 is pretty much the same, I believe. Thanks. Great job on the Z5 build trucks 22.8. Oh, okay. I didn't really look at the lens and camera combination on the image. That was a shoot from the hip picture taken in the old quarter. Oh, okay. Nice shot, Robert. Hopefully you like the edit. Marsha's here. Good to see you. And oh, okay. So you did like the edit. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you. Um, oh, David, no problem. I don't think I've ever seen your picture, your thumbnail before. We spoke on the phone once. David Costello is um he's a good guy. Let me just put it that way. He's helped me out in the past and has worked with me. Um, you misread my comment. The discount does apply. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's awesome. I thought it didn't apply because in the past that's not normally been the case. So I've been spewing disinformation about the discount code. So okay, I'm gonna have a new way of putting out discounts. I'm gonna say try it. It might work, right? Even if they didn't intend it to work, sometimes they make a mistake and the discounts work on everything when they're not supposed to, and then they fix it later. So if you act fast, sometimes you get a better deal than you otherwise would have. I've seen that happen. But thank you for correcting me on that, Andrew. All right, let's get back to the editing. That's why we're all here, right? So I got to move this back over here and switch screens back to this. Okay, we got one here from Paul Chris. Oh, wait a second. Why isn't I need to do this optical update? I missed one. Oh, I'm one with the 7 to 14 Pro. Yep. The reason it's asking for that is because that's a lens combination I don't have. I don't have a 7 to 14 Pro lens. All right, let's take a quick look. So, oh, okay, we have this. This is cool. My eye goes right here, but then the architecture is really beautiful. Very calm scene. I think what I'll do is I'm going to crop in quite a bit. Um, I think this is all that matters in this scene is right here. I need a little bit more space on the bottom. Okay, good. And then white balance looks really good. Maybe just make it a little bit cooler. Okay. And this is a raw image, so there might be some potential here to bring back some stuff in the sky. Let me just add a touch of clear view here. All right, good. So whenever I have water, particularly when water is relatively calm, I like to make it black and reflective as possible, just shiny, shiny black. So there's that. And then I'm going to make sure that the center here, the subjects stay in the right exposure. And then the background is kind of irrelevant. It's just, in this case, just a background. As nice as this building is, it's not about the building. So I don't have to work too hard on that. And I don't want to distract from the main subject. I'm thinking out loud. So I'm not giving advice when I'm thinking out loud. I'm just thinking out loud. So this is not advice or suggestions. Um, but if you guys are curious what my workflow is and how I think about images, that's why I speak out loud. But don't take everything I say with a grain of salt. All right, so let me work with the sky first. Let me see if there's any potential here. I'm going to bump the luminosity masking to minimize the effect on the building. And let's just go with clear view and pull the highlights in. And there is a little bit of detail there. Okay, so we'll leave it there. Um, this is the sky. And the building itself, I don't know. Let's just go with the biggest parts of this image, the sky and the water. Let's go up here. And I might have to do this in two pieces. Yeah, I can't mask that quite right. So I'm gonna do this maybe with a brush instead. Uh, yeah, let me do this with a brush. And we'll pull the feathering down, push the opacity. I was doing something else, obviously. All right, let's do this with a brush. Actually, I probably could use a little bit of feathering. This might turn out to be a disaster, and I should have used the control line, but we'll try. If I hit the Alt key, I can kind of unmask certain areas. Okay. All right. So we're going to pull this. Push the clear view up. Oh, that's a little bit of contrast. Yeah. And then let's fix the masking a little bit here and a little bit here. Okay. Um, we're almost there. This is the water. And then let's create a new brush. I think maybe we'll use the auto masking one. Let's see what that does. Auto mask, they definitely need to work on this tool. Because Photoshop is pretty amazing at selecting subjects. I mean, it's not perfect either, but let me see if I can just push the shadow areas. Okay, good. And whoops, I'm going to feather it just a little bit. I'm going to fix the feathering here. There. Okay. All right. Let's pull the highlights on the bird. I need to shift the tones. Let me see. All-in-one profile. Natural. I like natural most of the time. But actually, the all-in-one profile looks pretty good right there. Okay. And I will do, this building is a little bit too reddish. What I need to do, let me push the chroma masking a bit. Oh, I'm using the swan. Hold on. I gotta create a new one like this. There we go. Push the chroma masking. I'm gonna darken this a bit. Let me darken the sky a bit. Okay. Building and to some of these windows. Some will do the luma masking. I should probably use a brush. Let me do a brush instead. Actually, auto masking brush usually works pretty well in this situation. I'm not going to do much here. Uh, I just want to push them a tiny bit, not the highlights, maybe the shadows a little bit. Okay, a little bit more there. Let me just push it. All right, good enough. I'm wasting a lot of time on that one. I don't need to. And then the histogram's again a little bit dark, so I'm going to push the overall image a bit brighter. Yeah, let me look at the I guess the red looks good, green looks good, maybe a little bit more. And I do want to fix one more thing, and then we'll call it. So this, oops, wrong brush. Do a control point. Let me see, let's do a chroma mask. A little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Tree. And then I want to do just a little bit more on the boat. Okay, I'm done. Uh, oops. So let's do a quick comparison here, side by side. Um, yeah, the main thing was the crop. This second boat was a little distracting to me. And then giving the just the image a little bit more pop in the background and making the water darker and pulling the boat out a little bit. So it might be easier to compare it this way. So there's before and there's the after. I think that looks pretty good. I would definitely spend some more time on this tree here and this tree. It's bothering me. Let me go back to this tree. I need to do the same thing to this tree. Okay. All right, so just one more quick look. There's the before and there's the after. before and after. All right. Wow, I spent a lot of time on that one. I need to move a little faster. What time is it? Okay, 10:40. So I actually have a photo job today I need to get to. Um, all right, this is interesting. Street scene. This bird is interesting. And this lady's looking at the bird. It'd be really cool if this guy was looking at the lady, then the lady's looking at the bird. But it's not. So this is distracting. There's some potential with a window here and here. And this street, all right, so I'm going to do probably a square crop. So let's do that. Um, something. Oh, I should have done a perspective. Let me add perspective in here real quick. Oof. Wow, that really tore it up. Let me back this off a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay. I don't know if the perspective corrections help. Let me look at this line. No, this building is crooked. It kind of comes down this way and then this. All right. So the perspective correction makes it a little bit worse though, but that's all right. All right, we'll leave the perspective correction except for this little bit of slide. Well, no, we'll leave it alone. But then I lose this bird. I don't want to get too much. Now the lamppost is centered. I don't like that. I don't like this lamppost dead center. Can't be helped though. Uh, so be it. I got to do some perspective correction. It's driving me nuts. All right, there we go. And then just a little bit tilted back. All right. This scene, I think it's going to look better in black and white. I don't know why. Whenever I see a blurry bird, I want to do black and white. It's probably embedded in me from some image I saw from a great master photographer or something. When you do black and white, the clear view is always kind of nice to add a little bit more punch. Punch the contrast here and the contrast here. Maybe pull the blacks in a little bit. Push the midtones and the highlights again. Okay, and then just do maybe a local adjustment on the window because I really want to see what's going on in here. So this is the window. Not too dissimilar how I work with eyes on people and animals. Keep it nice and glossy, maybe some micro contrast. Do that on that window. How about this building? Just a touch here and there doesn't hurt. Okay, that's good there. And then let's do a luma mask, maybe a chroma mask. And push the midtones. Does it look right? Yeah, good. Maybe a slight push on the shadow. And then we'll minimize some of this other stuff in here. Just now, or do it that way. Let me do it this way. We'll just do sort of a half a vignette down in here. All right, I'm gonna call it there. So here's the before and after. So I went black and white. I don't know. It could have worked as a color as well, but I saw this bird and I was like immediately, let's do black and white. I don't know why. Some minor perspective corrections. I'd have to spend more time on that, but uh, you're definitely tilting the camera up a tiny bit, it looks like. And then we'll do a full screen before and after. So there's the before, and there's the after. And it could probably use a little bit, again, the histogram. I need to look at that. God, they're all the same, but there's some tones here I think could be brought up a little bit. Maybe the shadows. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Now I'm done. Let's go to the next one. Gosh, I gotta check one more thing. What's the color look like? Color's not bad actually, with the same edits applied. If we do a before and after here, that looks pretty good. Okay. So thank you, Joe, for sending that in. And we have a B picture here. These are pretty straightforward for me. I just do a square crop. And put the B somewhere in there, frame the rest of the image. Okay, let's frame it this way. Trying to balance it a little bit. If I do that, no, that's too bottom heavy. These flowers on the right are annoying. They add a little bit too much weight to the image, but that's all right. Let's go with that. White balance, we definitely need to go warmer, so let's try shade. That looks good. Let's do some clear view. Back it off a tiny bit, pull the blacks in. Push the highlights a tiny bit. And let's just add a quick vignette. Oh, that's not working well. Let's do it this way. Let's get rid of this one. Okay, let's work on the B a tiny bit. And clear view and micro contrast should work well. And a slight push on the shadows and midtones. And then we'll do the same thing kind of rest of the body. Maybe a push on the highlights, that's too much. Maybe a little bit more in the shadow. Okay, and this vignette, let's pull it in a little bit in this direction. Just a little off center. And if you saturate a little bit. Okay, we're done. Let's do a quick before and after. So, whoops, there's the before, a little bit flat, mostly because of the white balance. And there's the after. I think that came out actually much better than I was expecting. I didn't think I would be able to make a lot of difference, but let me compare it to, yeah, I think that looks really good. And if I exported this with a little noise reduction, this would look even better. It'll clean up some of the noise you're seeing over here. Let me do that real quick. Export. Let's do no resizing. Let's export this. I think this will really benefit from a nice export. And Marcia says, I have Photolab 4. I'll wait for number 8. Good idea. Great idea, Marcia. Okay, let's compare. And let me reset this. So there's the before, and there's the after. So let me zoom in a bit. There's the after. I think that looks great. And there's the before. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Thank you, Andrew, for that one. I hope you like that edit. And we have one from John Follows. It's a guy fishing. So we need to straighten this out a little bit. Okay, that's good. Let me see, color-wise, Olympus versus natural. Yeah, I like the Olympus color profile. All right, that's good. So I'm going to try and emphasize some of these weeds here and darken this to just hopefully frame him a little better, then make the water black. So that's pretty straightforward, I think. So we'll start with the water because that's the easiest one. And let's increase the chroma and luma, and then just pull this in, add some clarity. It's too much on the black, but something like that is good. So that's the water. And then let's fix some of this. This is way too bright in here. Okay. Okay, good. That's the background. And then these weeds, I wanted to just brighten up a little bit. And then we'll add some vibrancy in the yellow channel. Let me pull the highlights out. I do it this way. Okay. This one's a little bit too bright. I might have to do a separate one. I'll do a separate control point for that one. Add a little bit there. A little bit of color. Okay. And then these, let's just pull the midtones. Same thing there. Okay. A little bit of clear view across the board. Oops. So red channel, yeah, we're good. All right. See a nice little hump here. So that tells me I think this guy's exposed properly. Maybe a slightly tighter crop. Let me see. I mean, I kind of like the framing of this blurry area, but how's the headroom here? Just do a standard rule of thirds crop. Okay, I think I'm done. So let's do a quick comparison. Not much need to be done. I just wanted to de-emphasize this back here. I think I would go back and desaturate it slightly, but other than that, I think that's all I would need to do. And then I kind of like these, I guess these are dead weeds and flowers. It looks like they're kind of wilted. Maybe it's really hot, over in here, but I wanted to bring them up a little bit, just give them a little more life. I think that looks pretty good. So we do before and after. So there's before and there's the after. So it's just about, making the water blacker, just de-emphasizing everything around here except for the weeds and the person, because these are the only things that really caught my eye in the scene. All right, let's see. Okay, we got this one, then one more. I forget, someone sent one in, and we're at 11 o'clock. All right, we're doing good. Oh, a nice snowy scene. I like this. Uh, yeah, we got lots of man, this edit I could spend a lot of time with. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but just because it's such a dynamic scene already. Um, so I think let me just mess around. Golly, and the lines are straight. Man, somebody's really good. I forget who sent this in, but I love that. All the lines and the perspective is straight. That makes this the winner of the whole everything submitted right there. Okay, so I'm trying to debate how much do I distract from, because the lighting here is very interesting everywhere, but it's just a little bit heavy on this right side. I don't think I need to crop or anything. I mean, if there was a way to get rid of this, now the balance is off. When it's a vertical. Okay, square and shift and get rid of that. Yeah, because there was too much lighting here on the right side. I think I think I'd like to include. Let's do 4 by 3 again. I'll go all the way to the edge of the frame. Okay, I think I like that. I'm not crazy about it, but I like that. All right. A little bit of clear view. Pull the blacks in, push the shadows a tiny bit. And white balance. If I go with the street lamps, it's going to be too blue. I think let me try this one. It might be a little bit too cool, but that's okay. Winter time is supposed to be cold, right? All right, that's good. And then just a little bit of light painting from here, right? Uh, Let me expand this area around this little restaurant like that. And let's bring in the highlights from that a bit. But at the same time, we need to brighten a little bit over here with some clarity, clear view. And no, too bright. Let's dang it, hit the wrong button. Let's do this. Just clear view. Maybe some contrast. And a slight push on vibrancy. Okay. And then these signs down here could use a little help. Okay. And the street lamps. We'll add some light from them. Pull this in a little bit. Let's shift to the orange. There we go. Then I want to do the same thing with the snow. So I'm going to have to do a very, very tight mask here on luminance. It's going to take a little bit of work. Let's see. This might be a bit too much, but let me try it. Okay, we're getting there. This one needs to be smaller. Maybe not at all. Okay. A tiny bit more up here. Well, no, there's nothing motivating that light, so let's do the windows. Need to tighten the mask on that. That. All right. Too much on the white balance. All right, I'm going to call it there. So let's do a before and after. So there's a side by side. So ultimately just a small crop. What is this distracting thing up here? That's weird. Let me get let me get rid of that. Okay. So side by side, I think I would make the image a little bit warmer overall. I'm sorry, cooler. It's a little bit too warm. Let's do just a global change and bring it down there. And these guys, This one a little bit less long. Okay, now let's do a side by side. Yeah. So I'm not showing the crop. There's the original uncropped. This is mine with the crop. And yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Let's do it. Let's do on top of each other. So there's before and there's the after. Okay, I think um, somebody said they sent one in. Let me see if I can find this real quick. So I said I would do it. Phil, if I download this, that's the JPEG. Download this, save. Okay, so this one, so Phil sent me a JPEG. And I think this needs, this is going to be a tough one. Awesome shot though. I love this. It's a great shot. It just needs it needs a lot of work because it's a little bit pixelated. Um, so let's minimize the image. Square crop. This image would benefit from something like Topaz Sharpen, where it can correct motion blur. Because honestly, there's not a lot more I can do with Photolab from this point. Maybe just give it a little bit more warmth and, ooh, yeah, pulling the highlights, adding some vignette. I'm gonna reverse that. And then brightening up the shadows a little bit on the chicks here. And maybe soften up some of the brush. So okay, I think that's all I can do with this as is. So let's do a quick comparison. So there's the before and after. Sorry, Phil. Uh, this JPEG is it's got a lot of it's the JPEG is being stressed. Some JPEGs, like the one I did of the portrait of the little boy, that JPEG was not stressed, right? There wasn't like extremes in the highlights and shadows, but this one has a lot of extremes of highlight and shadow. So it's pushing the JPEG in at its limits and, on almost every pixel, it looks like. And that's why I'm struggling a little bit with this one. So not all JPEGs are created equal, right? With a raw image, I would have certainly a lot more flexibility, but in this JPEG, it's already been stretched uh, to its limits, and that's why it's hard for me to make that many changes to it, other than a slight crop. But I did my best there. Um, but it is a terrific image, so I really like the image. I don't want to take anything away from the shot itself. But like this, if you look at this JPEG here, this one, this image is relatively flat and all the tones are kind of in the same. If you look at the histogram, all the tones are like right in the middle. Everything is even, and I can kind of push and pull just enough and still make it look natural. But if I try to push and pull your image of these birds, watch the histogram be like look exactly the same. But yeah, this is tough. Red, green, blue. I don't know. They're all kind of on the left. So pushing them to the right, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's just me. But I feel like, yeah, there's pixels being pushed all the way to the right and all the way to the left, and not much is centered. Everything is kind of just in one direction. So the histogram doesn't reflect that very well, but just looking at it with my own eyes, that's what I'm seeing. So okay, let me go to Marsh says, can you sharpen the great blue's eyes? Just a tiny bit, but if I zoom in, right? Uh, let me try a control point on just the eye. We'll come in here. And if I just go right here to sharpen and micro contrast, maybe some clarity, and punch the vibrance and saturation. So that, yeah, that just didn't, because if I hide that, yeah, it's not making much difference, unfortunately. I can add this to the other herons. But yeah, this JPEG is just it's a very, very thin and fragile JPEG. This is a fragile JPEG, I think is the best way to put it. Uh, it just has no room. You touch anything and it breaks, unfortunately. But overall, the image is pretty nice, and it would require more skill than I have to really take this any further. To be honest, um, it would take a lot more skill than I have. But it's such a great image. It'd be worth it to take the time to fix this up even more, right? Okay, so let me switch over to the chat real quick and just jibber jabber for a bit with you guys. See how you guys are doing. See what the feedback was. So Robert says, I like your moody. How did you set up the preset that you do at the beginning? It's very, very simple. I'll show you. Let me go to the Photolab screen. So let me reset this. And basically the preset is this. So I'm going to apply a preset, and DxO has a standard uh, right here, right? DxO standard. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go to each window and see what was, well, I guess I can do that. No, let me not do that. I changed this. I have to pick a raw image. So I'm going to pick a raw image. Let me reset this, apply preset. I'm going to choose the DxO standard. Mine is just a variation of this. A lot of times I would turn the global sharpening to 0. Let me just dial in 0 because sometimes it tends to over sharpen a bit for my taste. So I put the global sharpening to 0. I turn on purple fringing. And yep, that looks good. I click the auto mask here. All of this looks good. I changed this to D prime XD. So that's what I changed there. And then in the color panel, I don't think there's anything going on here. I'll just turn that off. And then smart lighting, I turn that off. Contrast is off. We'll leave vignetting on because that's part of the DxO optics module. And let me double check the optics. Yeah, everything here looks good. So mainly I make changes here, right? I change this to 0. I check the purple fringing. I check the auto for size, for chromatic aberrations. Change this to D prime. And the color, this doesn't matter on or off really, but I'll just turn it off. And then for this exposure, I just double check to make sure everything's off and that this is on. So I don't do anything in this panel. And that's it. That's my auto preset. So it just goes a little bit further than the standard DxO preset. That's all. Okay. Where did my chat window go? Oh, here. And it says here, I got here eventually, busy editing photos all night from a model shoot. Oh, that's cool, doing a model shoot. So jealous. Good to see you though, Jack. Thanks for coming in. And let's see. Nicely done. Different from my edit, but I like yours better. Yeah, it's all subjective, right, Andrew? Wow, it looks like an HDR image, but in a good way. I guess I can't remember which one we were talking about at the time, but thank you. Uh, it is better. It looks like the focus was on the baby on the left. Yeah, a little bit, right? On that last image. Um, I don't think there were any other questions. So you guys, thank you so much for sending those images in. It was great. I had great fun editing them as usual. I hope you enjoyed your time here. Uh, I'll have another one next week, and um, let me know in the comments of this video, whether you're watching now or if you're watching this later, if you want to see me use other software like Luminar or On1 in these photo editing streams, or even Lightroom, and I don't have Topaz anymore. I have the old like Sharpen AI and stuff like that, but I don't have the new whatever they call it. But I can get access to On1 and Luminar, um, and I don't have access to Affinity either. So those are the only other two options. So you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you again on Sunday for my normal chit chat live stream, photo chat live stream. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you later.